Previously in X-Men, the X-Men have traveled to Japan to celebrate the wedding of Wolverine to Lady Mariko Yoshida, who is cousin of the Emperor of Japan and head of Clan Yoshida. Of course, there's some maneuvering behind the scenes as the deadly former member of Hydra kind of hand assassin Viper and her companion of some sort, the Silver Samurai, who happens to be Mariko's half-brother. They're trying to seize control of the clan. And behind the scenes, like Storm is trying to help Yukio battle Viper, and there's all this stuff going on, and intrigue and mystery, and it's really very exciting. It went last issue, and there's all sorts of things happening. Where we're at now is that the X-Men are all in the hospital. They've all been poisoned by Viper. But Yukio and Storm have gone behind the scenes to try and figure out what's going on. Storm's power is a little bit out of control. She's kind of fried herself. And all the people that are left are like, Wolverine is still awake. He's recovered from the poison. And I think Rogue, who's just joined the team and no one trusts her. Does that sound like where we're at, Chris?
I think that's exactly where we're at.
Okay, then I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of Seven Comics. And we are reading, of course, welcome to our Tuesday night ongoing live stream read through of the X-Men comics that became classic, as we're in episode 90 of our series, as we read Uncanny X-Men 173 by storytellers Chris Claremont and Paul Smith, inked by Bob Wiacek, cover date of September 1983. And we are joined by the one and only Jay Torres. Jay, how are you?
You had to do it right then. Just like a waiter, hey, how's it tasting? Right in the middle of a bite.
It's perfect. That's just the only time to do it.
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe some of the books that you've written and something you want to plug that's recent-ish, or like what you're working on now? Something to give our members of our audience a little insight into the world of Jay Torres?
Recent-ish. Oh, I'm doing this thing for DC Kids YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
It's Adventure Comics, and they just today, actually, by surprise, they just reposted a Blue Beetle 2-parter as one part. So go to the DC Kids YouTube channel. If you're a kid or a kid at heart or a kid adjacent, send someone over there. Check it out. It's basically Brave and the Bold, but we couldn't use Brave and the Bold because another editor stole the title. So this is like kid-friendly Batman with other superheroes from the DC universe. And it all lines up with the movies. It's
right.
All vertical or horizontal integration. I don't know what to call it. So the last one was Blue Beetle. The one before that was Flash, unfortunately. Before that was Shazam. So there's going to be an Aquaman one coming up, and I don't even remember who else is coming out movie-wise.
That's a really good question.
Yes.
What movies are coming out from DC? I don't remember what comes out after Aquaman either. But things are delayed, I think, after that. I think there's a halt in production because of the strike. So I don't think there's anything on in the very near future after Aquaman, but I could easily be wrong. Are you a fan of the Brave and the Bold cartoon from back in the...
Oh my God, yeah. I got to write for that comic too, and it was like I got free reign and just got to choose just the wackiest characters that I wanted to write. And I kind of cheated sometimes too, because, so for example, I used Kid Eternity, who, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the character, but he basically borrows or uses powers from heroes throughout history. So I threw in like Shining Knight, G.I. Robot, I can't remember who else, just to make, have fun, Viking Prince. And then J Bone did an issue, and I just knew that because we were both big fans of Doom Patrol, that we had to do a Doom Patrol crossover. So we just had a lot of fun with it. It was really cool.
It seems to me, from the outside, that anytime the shackles of continuity are not on a creator, and the creator loves DC history, and I don't mean DC continuity, but DC history and characters from the past, like, you can have the best time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's why I like working for the kids line, because they leave us alone for the most part. I got to write Aquaman throwing a whale at Starro. I would not be allowed to do that, I'm sure, in mainline DCU. I've done mainline DCU stuff, and it's just not my thing.
Did Aquaman yell as he threw that whale?
Outrageous! I threw that line in. I did. I had to. I've written him twice now, and in each comic, I had him say outrageous. Oh, do you guys play video games?
Yeah.
No, but my kids do.
If you can get the Brave and the Bold video game, I'm trying to remember if it was on the Wii or the GameCube or what I played on, and even the Game Boy. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. Just to track it down, borrow some kid's GameCube or Game Boy or whatever, and play it. It's so worth it.
I have no doubt.
I mean, I know it's a bit off topic, but that version of Aquaman, that animated series, Brave and the Bold version, is so, there's so much love there, yes, and humor and warmth, and like it is so. I think if you'd come to that series completely cold and not know anything about it, and then you're not going to watch this, and like just that interpretation is so off charts that it's wonderful. It works so well.
It's perfect, right? It's like Major Bragg, meets, I don't know, I guess Wolverine to an extent in the ocean.
Right. Yeah. He reminds me of Hercules.
Yeah. I wish he did get canon, but.
Well, he kind of is in a way that, you don't have to make him, well, I guess I think it's open to interpretation enough that you can still find the love of that guy. Just the design of him I thought was great. How much he loved being Aquaman was really great, and I miss that in a lot of my superheroes, that they love being who they are. I think in the modern movie iterations, like no one seems to love being themselves as much as Thor loves being Thor when he's at his best, and that I think is a really great trait in a hero for kids, that they love who they are and they lean into their strong side, and they I find the momentum of that to be a lot of fun. So we're big fans, Chris and I both. And I know my kids for sure. They're fans of. We wore out those discs of Brave and the Bold. We watched them all, and there is rarely a cartoon that makes me cry as often as the finale of Brave and the Bold. I don't know if you remember it off the top of your head. Basically, what happens is, I believe it's Ambush Bug. They break the fourth wall, and the series gets canceled, and. As it's getting canceled, the reality is disappearing, and eventually it's just the cast and kind of the crew and the sets inside the Batcave, and they basically start picking up pieces of the set, and as they are like turning them, you can see it's all just cardboard and wood, painted stuff, and Batman just says to whoever he's talking to in that moment that don't worry, like there'll always be a Batman, like there's always going to be another Batman cartoon. And he sort of thanks everybody, and then he looks to the viewer, and he says, and thanks you, like you're the real heroes. And I watch that, and I just start, I turn into a ball of mush. I think it's fantastic that they just had the pure like love and joy, the earnestness to just unabashedly love who they are and what they do. And that portrayal I thought was just amazing, really, really great.
That's James Tucker right there. Like he's such a big fan of the DC characters. In the history, and he's so good. I mean, I think he's behind pretty much every Justice League Unlimited or Justice League, whatever it was called, episode that I love, including the one I borrowed the throwing the whale thing.
That's awesome. Can you tell us about your recent Batman project you were working on?
Yeah, it was called Night Watch. It was another kids book, DC Kids Batman project. And the trade paper just came out a couple weeks ago. And it's basically like Batman with, you remember did you guys ever read Sherlock Holmes and they had the street urchins? Or what were they called? Oh my goodness.
They're called Robin.
Yes, the Robins.
The Robins.
Were basically like his street level informants and researchers, I guess, or like street teams. So that was kind of the inspiration. It wasn't my idea. It was brought to me by an editor. And it was a way to kind of try to make it interactive with the kids and blah, blah, blah. And, so the kids kind of report to Batgirl or Alfred and say, oh, Clayface was spotted over here. Or go send Batman or whatever.
Right.
It's more fun than that, trust me.
I trust you.
There's a bad guy over here.
It's like those cybernetic speeder bike kids in the Book of Boba Fett,
Oh.
No, it's better than that. This is the thing. I hate. I guess I might be guilty of this myself a little bit. I hate when old people try to make young people look cool or seem cool. I'm working on a new project that I can't really say much about yet, but one of the comics that's adjacent to it, I read the first issue, and it opens with one of the young female protagonists saying, "OMG, these scenes are epic," and I was like, "Oh my God, please stop." Please.
You're cringing on behalf of the younger generation. You're just like, please stop.
I just can't.
Yeah.
My son had his first day of high school today, and he came home and he was telling me that his English teacher, he's not sure what the deal is. He's like, either, he's on drugs or like he doesn't know, he's trying to talk like young people the whole time. And he's like, all right, bro, okay, dude. And my son said it was so weird, that idea of old people trying to talk like young people. Yeah, it is bizarre. When it comes to X-Men, Jay, can you tell us what your entry point into X-Men was?
Well, I'm an 80s kid, and I don't know what this means. I'm an 80s kid.
Yeah.
But, that era of New Teen Titans and X-Men when they were basically selling around the same, which has never happened since. That was me. That was my golden age of corner store, spinner rack comics, and the very first back issue I ever bought was an X-Men comic. The very first signing I ever went to was Claremont and Paul Smith. Actually, I got them to sign this comic. I don't have it here. And I have a story about the next issue, but I don't know how you guys are about spoilers.
The spoilers are the comics are 40 years old.
I know, but
we don't want to have if you don't mind, because we both haven't read ahead. If it's not a major plot point,
it is. Okay, let me put it this way. So, what was this? 1983?
Yes.
Yeah.
So 83. I was about 12 years old. Capitaine Quebec in downtown Montreal had a signing with Chris Claremont and Paul Smith. And I was like, Dad, you need to take me. So he took me. I had to spend $5 on any comic. You show my receipt. We'll go to the back of the store, line up to go up this fire escape, and meet Claremont and Paul Smith on the second floor somewhere. And I think you were only allowed to have 2 or 3 comics signed, which I thought was a crock, but whatever. So more excited than meeting them. I'm starting to speak like Yoda here. I was more excited. No, wait. The thing that I was most excited about was not that I get to meet them and get their autograph, but to go up to Chris Claremont and say, I figured out your plot. I know what's going on in the story. Of course, when I look back on it, 10 years later, I was like, oh, it's fucking obvious, Torres. You're a stupid 12-year-old. Everybody knew who was behind this whole
Yes.
thing going on.
I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah,
So do I.
Okay.
I walked up right to Chris Claremont and I said, so-and-so is behind this, right? And behind him, stuck to the wall, taped to the wall, was a splash page. I won't spoil it for you guys, from the next issue. And I said, so am I right? And he just turns and points to the splash. And I'm like, no, is so-and-so behind all of this? And he just turns and points to the splash. And I'm pretty sure that's the only thing he said to me. The entire,
Look at the splash, kid.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure he's like, you're like the 12th kid to say this to me today. Go on, next,
That's hilarious.
I was just so cocky and like, I know, I figured it out, Mr. Claremont, Mr. Writer, sir. I know what you've done.
I've seen those tales.
Yes.
Right.
And I wasn't even like, oh my God, look at that artwork. And I love Paul Smith. I was like, just tell me I'm right, Claremont. And Paul Smith was just wonderful. I remember, again, being such a cocky shit. There was a kid in front of me who was holding an Avengers comic that had absolutely nothing to do with him. And he got Paul Smith to sign it. And I'm talking to myself in my head, who is this dumbass kid getting Paul Smith to sign an Avengers comic? He had nothing to do with it. Paul Smith's like, oh, I remember this is a great issue. Look at this. I remember this and that and the other thing. And he signed it and, he went along. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's the right way to handle that. Not like, get away from me, I didn't sign this.
Totally. And you hear stories about all sorts of creators signing stuff they didn't have anything to do with, just to keep the kid happy, right? Just to make
Not at Jay Torres' table. Go back over there. There's bathroom. Go find something and come back.
You make a point of it. You're like, no, get out.
I honestly, I'll be nice about it. I'll say I just feel I don't feel good about this. But here's a free bookmark or a free comic. I'd rather do that than deface someone else's comic with my signature that I had nothing to do.
Did you ever hear Chip Zdarsky's story about meeting John Romita Sr.? Chip brought his own comic that he had been making.
Of course he did.
And stapled it, together and handed it like sheepishly to John Romita Sr. And John Romita Sr. signed it and gave it back to him. So he has his own comic signed by JRJ or JRS.
Recent, or was it when he was a kid?
Oh, it was when he was a kid. He was like 10 or 11 years old.
Hilarious, and I wouldn't put it past Chip to have done this like 5 years ago.
That's true. That's very true. I just want to give a quick shout out and say hello to Chuck. Chuck Dotson, how are you, sir? Greetings, fellow kids. He says, hope you're well, Chuck, and I hope this particular issue is one that is fond for you as a youngster. I don't know if you've read this one recently. It is. I picked it up, within the last few months. It is a beauty. I'm really, really grateful to have this one in my collection. So this is, I've really focused in the last little while on that Paul Smith run, getting them all, and it's been very rewarding.
Have you not known anything about Paul Smith previous to 10 weeks ago when we started the Paul Smith run? Wow. I just now I want to go get everything Paul Smith.
Yeah, there aren't that many X-Men comics, but they are, and I'm I didn't put that much effort into finding them all. It's been really easy, especially with a couple cons that we were able to go to or new stores. I just then touch upon the not so clickbaity title for this episode. This cover seems to be a meaningful one for a lot of other artists and setting the tone for Wolverine. This is, I think, the only Wolverine spotlight cover so far in X-Men to this degree, where he is, he's taking up 60% of the image. A really great artist, a friend of mine, Dave Brower's out near Calgary. Dave pointed this one out to me during the quarantine. He's like, all those Art Adams covers, all those covers that every artist has of Wolverine running forward. He says that all starts with that the Paul Smith, X-Men 173, trace it all back to that. He says, even if you look at X-Men Heroes for Hope, it's almost like Art Adams is doing his interpretation of this drawing and then the rest of the X-Men in the background. But every sort of Wolverine running forward after this is drawing some kind of inspiration from this. And Art Adams might be one of the all-time best Steelers homage artists of this kind of pose, this crouched over, but it's such a signature Wolverine way of running. And we've talked about this throughout the 90 episodes, Chris, how we don't see Cockrum doing Wolverine's body language. It's just the slashing, just these big swipes. Byrne gets in certain body language, as a lot of the leaning back with the arms folded with the cigarette, and a cowboy hat maybe being down, and some of his other mannerisms. But this hunched over, Miller starts to do it, and we get Paul Smith continuing on with that sort of Miller legacy, and then taking to the next step of creating Wolverine's visual iconography and really adding to it with this kind of cover. So I love it. I kind of wish there was a background, but
I used to have a T-shirt of this.
What happened?
I outgrew it.
Oh,
many moons ago. I was working in a comic shop, and I remember seeing it come in. I was like, that's never going to hit the racks.
What shop did you work in?
Infinity Comics in Pointe Claire, Quebec.
How long did you work there?
Oh, 2 or 3 years, while I was in CEGEP in college, weekends and a little bit in the summers. Yeah, I loved it. It was a really, really fun time.
Yeah, I never got to work in a comic store. There you go. And Chuck says, this is an all-timer. I did my own copy of the cover that year as a Christmas gift for a cousin. Last year, he sent me a photo of my cover hanging on his wall. Oh my God. That is awesome. That is really cool. When you come across an artist that makes you want to draw. That is like to me the best kind of artist. Because listening to a musician that makes me want to sing or makes you want to play guitar. Like I love those kinds of inspiring figures. This is definitely falls in that list for sure. What are you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say, it'd be interesting. You know how a few issues ago we got the Paul Smith Kitty Pryde cover, right? Leaning back. Professor X is a jerk. Well, on the inside page, but she's on the cover, just her. And this one, you'd almost, as a part of you now, it's kind of like, imagine he did like one standalone character for each, like the Storm issue, the Colossus issue, you know what I mean? Like that, you can't, now that I've seen them like blown up, a couple of the characters, I want to see more of them.
That sounds like a very modern thing that, an artist would do. Like that idea of just having covers be like pinups of characters is a modern age thing. And some people would say it's it's not a good thing. Other people like, yeah, whatever. Just cool covers, cool cover. But yeah, I hear you, man. That'd be neat.
Have you ever put out a Paul Smith portfolio of any kind?
Not that I know of. Like by that, do you mean like an artist edition or something?
No. Like, did you guys ever collect any of those portfolios back in the day, like in the 90s? There was like a George Perez one. There was a burnt X-Men one that was like my holy grail. But by the time I discovered it when I was a teenager, and it came out years prior, and you just couldn't find it anymore. And I even there was a comic shop in Montreal called Comico or Comico, and they had them framed. One of them was like of the Sentinels, the X-Men fighting the Sentinels. It was a John Byrne kind of painted piece. And I wanted to buy it. I was like 14 years old and offering all my lawn mowing money to the owner of the store. He's like, I want to sell you this, or whatever. But if you can, actually, I'm going to Google it, because if I remember correctly, it was just beautiful. John Byrne, but it was painted.
They're like airbrushed.
Sure.
I think. So I have one. It has like 4 pinups in it.
That might be it.
And I think there are 2 different ones.
Is there one? Okay, so one scene is they're fighting the Sentinels. There's another one in the danger room. I don't remember what the other ones were.
I'm going to look them up too.
Oh my God, there it is. Oh, wow. John Byrne's. Oh, wow, yes. Sorry, I'm having a moment here.
So there's one that has a yellow cover and one that has a red cover. The red cover, that one I still own.
And then there's one with the new X-Men posing in front of a mantle with the original X-Men portrait behind them.
Well, that's cool.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah, just Google John Byrne X-Men portfolio.
I'm not doing it.
4 plates. They're just they're gorgeous.
All right, take a look. So this is the one. Is this what you're referring to?
No.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can, but that's not it.
So this is the one that I have, and it's cool. It has 4 pieces in it. There's one with Wolverine fighting some monsters in the sewer. Then there's one of them in the danger room, and then there's one of them fighting Alpha Flight, which is why I bought it at the time. And then the last one is like obviously the Jean Grey inspired.
I remember the Alpha Flight one. Isn't that like? Is that in Toronto?
The issue took place. I mean, the fight takes place in Calgary. But
Showdown at the Stampede, I believe that issue is. Showdown at the Stampede.
But I don't know what this is supposed to be in terms of.
City Hall, if I remember correctly, but I can't see properly here. Go look for the other one, Jason. I'm telling you, you're gonna drool over it. I wish
you'll drool over it.
I
saw it in the. You found it, Chris?
No, I found someone recreating it, I think.
Here.
I've found the John Byrne with them in front of the fireplace.
Yeah, there's 4 plates in the collection.
Okay.
There's one with them fighting the Sentinels in, I think it's the danger room.
I've got it here.
There was 2 more. And on this page that I'm looking at, it has the ones that you're talking about, Jason.
There, can you see?
Sorry.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there's the 2 of them, the top left and the bottom right.
Right.
That I remember.
So I saw this set of whatever Marvel superhero portfolio on Uncanny X-Men. I saw this set one at Fan Expo.
Really?
When Chris and I were shopping for comics in the morning on Thursday, and I did not stop to ask the very knowledgeable booth owner, like, what it was, because I've had one for 30 years, and I didn't really know what it was or what to do with it. And he had this one, and I kind of thought about maybe picking it up just to have both, but I did not. But I know who he is, and I know how to reach him. So if you want this, Jay, I can probably put you in touch with that guy.
I might. It's not. I'm probably remembering this incorrectly, but there was a John Byrne specific one with 4 plates, but I can't find it.
Well, this one is credited to Byrne, Fassner, and Larson.
Right.
So I wonder if Byrne does the pencils and, or whatever it might be, or the layout.
I'm guessing the other 2 were a Fassner and Larson.
Oh, it could be just it's different people each doing one.
Byrne did the first. The other 2, because they look very Byrne-ish.
Chuck says, I had a copy of that X-Men painting on the front of the mantle. That's pretty cool. Those are neat.
It almost looked like someone had recreated that with action figures.
I wouldn't be surprised if that has happened many times. People, they love recreating things with action figures, like that pose. Whoa!
No torso, only arms and legs and head.
Yeah, there you go, Paul Smith. Yeah, very cool. So, do you guys want to get into the shit here? Get into it.
Let's do it.
This is some serious stuff, everybody.
Before we do,
oh yes,
Jay.
Yes, sir.
Which characters do you want to read?
I would like to be the narrator. I would like to be Yellow Caption Box Man.
Okay.
With no accents.
Oh no! You got to have at least a Canadian accent. Can you do that?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So sometimes people do all sorts of characters, and of course, our buddy here, Chris.
Chris will do all the accents.
I'm hoping, Chris, that you'll do.
I'm a white European. That's my jam.
Wait, who was doing Rogue last episode? Was it you, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in my dreams all week. Yeah.
Okay.
Who, by the way, is apparently a member of BTS. There's a guy named Suga. No wonder.
Suga. All right.
Ooh, there you go. Okay.
Shall we?
We'll get into this.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. So here we go. X-Men 173.
Oh, do I start? Or no? Is that how it works? All right. I was talking about the ad, so I thought, let's talk about
whatever. If you want
to,
we
have talked about the Cracker Jack ad.
Okay. We'll start.
Okay.
You want a good time in Tokyo? The guidebooks say, check out the Ginza. Stan Lee presents To Have and Have Not. I'm going to skip the names there. Occasionally, though, even in the best of places, things can get a bit rowdy.
Can we talk about just that drawing of the way he makes the woman walk? Holy cow. Just that step. Like, he is such a good figure drawer. Yeah. I don't know. I could say a million things about him.
Oh, you mean
I love this guy.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that looks like it's taken from a reference, a really good reference.
I just love his camera angles. Like, he just, sometimes it's like on the floor, and other times it's,
he's creative.
It's great. And then when
the reflection in the water.
You turn this page and it's like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
Like that.
I wonder if do you know, Jason, if they work full script? They have to have, right?
No. They would have at this point they would have been writing Claremont and Paul Smith would have been either talking on the phone or meeting in person, depending where Paul Smith lived. I have a hunch he was a West Coast guy, just because he was in animation, but they would have talked on the phone, and Claremont would have taken notes, or an assistant editor would have taken notes while they talk, so they can commit to the ideas. And they just hash out the things, and then Claremont comes back at him with a typed up script when he's ready.
It fascinates me how they could work this way and not be in the same room all the time. Because if Paul Smith says, okay, we're going to do the first spread is going to be, 50% a close up of Wolverine strangling some dude. And then, Claremont says, well, the rest of the plot is this is what happens and whatever. That he'd have to come back and then, it's, I don't know. I just can't imagine working that way.
Right. It isn't the most efficient way at this point, considering how verbose Claremont is and how much meat there is on the bone, like to try and work with. But at the same time, like you're going to get the best results out of Paul Smith if you don't give him too much instruction.
But I would imagine if he just did straight up plot script that he would still do this.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? I really only was speaking off of what I've heard Claremont say in the past. And I don't think he specifically addressed how he worked with Smith. I just know how he worked with Byrne and with Cockrum. And then later on, we can see when we get in another 100 episodes, we'll see how he works to varying degrees of success with Jim Lee and the others.
I've seen some of his scripts online, and they're really interesting. They're like hybrid plot script, full script.
Right. No, it would be really cool to talk to him about it, but
what draft these were, like it could have been a plot script first draft, and then the hybrid second draft, and finally a full script final draft. I don't know.
Why didn't you ask him that when you had the chance instead of asking him about telling him like you found out?
I wanted to know if I guessed correctly that. No, I almost said it. Sorry.
I was, I've been a big fan of Miller and of X-Men for a very long time, and Miller starts using this fill a whole panel with narration graphically. In the Wolverine Limited series, and we see it again, of course, in Dark Knight Returns, and then Sin City and everything. Chris, just from a creative partnership point of view, are you cool with me doing one of those or two of those in the next issue of the Peregrine stuff? Like that far panel on the right, where all the narration.
Oh
fits,
yeah,
I think it's great actually for this.
Right, but the difference is with Miller, he basically did it all himself, right?
Yes.
So you don't need to ask the writer, hey, can I do this? Unless it's kind of a crutch that Claremont would use.
Right.
But anyway, I don't know. It's quite interesting.
I think it works really well.
I think if you did it, it would be because we love the source where it comes from.
Right.
And so people would say, hey, are you doing some Miller here? We're like, well, maybe a little.
Well, there in the next issue for us, like there is going to be a little bit more of the Miller page layout stuff where there, the less of a grid and more of panes of glass that have a bit of a graphic appeal, just for a few fight scenes and whatnot.
Not to mention a rip-roaring bar fight scene. Spoiler alert. So
exactly.
There you go, folks.
There you go. All right. It's already a lousy night for business, Akio. You want me to do the same for your health? I want information. I won't ask again.
Y'all better cooperate, sugar. We've been getting a runaround all evening and it's been making Wolverine a wee bit testy.
Chris, do you want to do this guy? Or okay.
Sure. I dare not betray my oath of silence. It would mean my life.
In that case, bub, you've got a problem.
I do. Oh, what's that?
I was going to say, translated from the Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Louise.
Incidentally, can I just say this bugged me when I was a kid? Because the translated from whatever language thing, because sometimes the dialogue would have a foreign word in it. So
Totally.
I asked myself, so are they saying that word in English or a totally different language?
Right.
Right. When like Cyclops says Tavarich or whatever, or
Right.
Sure.
It's like, so what is he saying there? Like, is he saying it in English?
Additionally, it bugs me that just as Chuck is saying right here, this is exactly what I was going to say, is that Wolverine or other characters will say colloquialisms in English, but they're saying that the whole phrase is actually in Japanese. So how does bub get rendered in Japanese, right? So he's saying, a variation of the Yiddish word for grandmother, or is he saying it as like a babe?
Yeah.
a bub. Like what?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
does
Or
Wolverine
even
still
say-
speak with the same urban, like rural Canadian kind of speak, but in Japanese? Like, what is he doing? So it doesn't always work, right? Bub son.
It's inconsistent. Exactly.
Yeah. I think this is a fun thing to like nitpick at, but really isn't important. Right. So it still
was when
reads
I was
just
12.
fine.
It was important when I was 12. It drove me nuts.
Agreed. All right, Chris.
All right. I do so enjoy watching a professional work. Playing your sidekick is proven to be a real education, Wolvie, in more ways than one. That, sir, is no way to treat a lady. Don't do it again.
You're out of options, Akio. I want the Grand Oyabun of the Yakuza. Nabatone Yokuse.
You'll never reach him, Gaijin. Nabatone's-san is defended by a veritable army, the finest martial artists in Nippon.
That's my problem. Yours is more immediate.
Punk's a survivor. He talks, figuring whatever happens, he'll come out ahead. Either I'll nail the old man, or vice versa.
What's the next move, Wolvie?
Nabatone. He'll lead us to Viper and the Silver Samurai.
And then?
Things get nasty.
I invited the X-Men to Japan for my wedding. Instead, there's a good chance they'll be attending their own funerals. My fiance, Mariko Yoshida's dad, was a crime lord. Her half-brother, the Silver Samurai, wants control of the Empire. He means to get it by killing her. To keep me and my fellow mutants out of the picture, Viper poisoned all of us, except for Storm. Morgan and I recovered. We've been on the Samurai's trail ever since. The others are in the hospital intensive care, critical condition. Storm's disappeared.
Before you flip the page, Chris, like
Sure.
that's a really good like recap. But can we just talk about that panel where he lights up that cigarette? I mean, come on, it's so good. It's so, again, another iconic piece that I think we start to see from Byrne hints of it. We see Miller play with it too. We see Miller do that in the Daredevil series with any of the other characters like Kingpin, etc. And it becomes just it's that film noir staple. Like it's a trope of the genre. And forever, these things now get affiliated with Wolverine. Like they're just solidifying his iconography so beautifully in these couple issues. And I also really admire that Smith doesn't waste time with backgrounds in these fast panels on the bottom. You know, there's 9 panels there and no background. Like why you don't need it. It reads.
I was gonna say the cigarette lighting, aside from hilarious, because it's like, what's our next move? It's like, well, first I'm gonna light this cigarette and then go. But secondly, it's good, the bad, and the ugly, right? It's Clint Eastwood, right? It's that, it's that straight up from there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. All right.
I also love that we're getting the collision of a few different character arcs, right? We're getting Rogue's, what do you call it in wrestling? The heel turn is obviously when someone turns evil. Is it the babyface turn when someone becomes like the good guy? Or becomes the hero?
I guess it would be the reverse, yeah.
So I love that we're getting a different side of Rogue. She's happy in this and she's enjoying herself. We're getting Wolverine on his arc as well, like his longer character arc. And of course, we're getting the Storm arc, which has been really intriguing for the last couple of years. Yeah, it's nice.
Do you want to do Yukio? You want to do Storm? I'll do Yukio if you want to do Storm.
Yeah, I got Storm.
Okay. Tak, it's Yukio. Open the door and let us in. My friend and I need help.
Go away, Wild One. The word's out on both of you from Oyabun himself. A death mark. Forgive me, Yukio-san. There's no sanctuary for you anywhere.
Pooh! It's a long way across town to the X-Men's hospital, Storm. Are you up for the trip?
I fear that decision has been taken out of our hands. Yeah, there's like the music as the gang appears. In
As the
alley.
gang with
It's great.
chains shows up, right? There's always the weapon of chains.
So this might be a case where, if you're rewriting this issue or, laying it out differently, you pace it where that gets a bit of a reveal. There's a little bit of tension. It really flies by fast at this size, like one of 6 panels in a stack. But maybe it needs a little more weight. Maybe not.
I'm still stuck on the poo because it's translated. Poo as in poo-poo, like the English poo-poo.
Yeah, I poo-poo this.
Saying shit in Japanese.
Right.
Or like bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the face turn, Chuck. Thank you. And I just got to say hi quickly to Trevor 16 Shooter. I have not missed you there. Like I haven't forgotten that you're there, and I appreciate your comments. I haven't got to them yet, but this is one of one of Trevor's favorite issues, and he wanted to do this one too. He wanted to come on as a guest. So yes, for issue 175, I think you said, Trevor. We'll get you in there. Don't you worry. The dissonant synth chords as the gang enters. Exactly. Like discordant. Yes. Taking over hands. Did you already read your line?
Nope. 50.
Okay.
3-1 odds. Hardly seems a fair fight. But beggars can't be choosers.
We face death. And worse. How can Yukio be so lighthearted and uncaring? We are trapped in this alley. We are unarmed, wounded, and my control over my mutant elemental powers is marginal at best. Oh well. You only die once. Like Storm is, obviously she's frazzled and burned, and like her hair has been destroyed.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like she's had really, really long hair ever since she joined the team, like down past the waist sometimes. So like the lightning and everything, her hair is demolished. Like she is literally going through a metamorphosis of some kind. We all know where this is going, but I think it was kind of neat that it wasn't just, she's A and then she's B. Like we're actually getting a bit of a transition. Like a change is necessary because she's actually ruined. Like her hair's ruined.
Yeah, I mean,
so she's got to do something.
Yeah, and she's growing as a character.
Yeah,
right?
She needs a new do.
She does.
I wonder what she'll do.
Wonder what
her hair did.
Flip it. There we go.
Nabatone's estate is outside Tokyo, ringed by computer-controlled defenses. Thanks to Rogue, bypassing them is a breeze. The only man sense are residual.
Tell me about your man sense there, Jay Torres.
It's very musky.
Oh, Chris, what can you tell me about your man sense?
It comes and goes. It's like a tide.
You look like a pumpkin.
It's controlled
spice.
by the moon.
Pumpkin spice.
What's the what?
You look like a pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice. That's right. Everything pumpkin spice. That's right.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Ryan's here. It says, great second half of a story. It was a long wait for this issue. Are you talking about when you were a kid, or for us to get there after reading it a couple weeks back because we've had vacation? I'm going to assume it was because we took some weeks off recently, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a great second half for sure. A pumpkin spice Sanagan. There you go.
Pumpkin spice. I smell pumpkin spice, but no gods.
Is it just me, or if you drew some crow's feet on Rogue right here, she would look like B. Arthur?
The hair is almost. It has to be all white, but at that for Golden Girls.
A young B. Arthur.
Jay, I've got an amazing photo to send your way of B. Arthur since you brought her up.
Oh no, I'm scared now.
You should be. All right, Chris, let's do this.
All right. No gods?
Doesn't look like it. Stay close. And stay quiet. Follow my lead.
Sure enough, boss. Anything you say.
You think we're playing games, kid?
No siree. I'm just not afraid of being hurt. One of the benefits of being invulnerable.
Famous last words.
My stars, Wolvie. You sound jealous.
Someone's downstairs, alone.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go get the sucker.
She doesn't see the electric eye or the robot activated by her breaking the beam. I'm tempted to let her take the shot
Hey!
to find out what her limits really are. But I may need her later on. That's a real dick move.
Sorry. Yeah, it is. I'm recently, I've been watching, I think it's called Special Ops Lioness.
Oh,
on,
yeah.
Paramount.
Right.
It's another one of those Taylor Sheridan shows, and it's, CIA-led special ops missions. And there is, without spoiling anything about it, there is, they need to know the limits of this character because they need to know what they can put them through, because it's going to come down to life or death if this character is going to break at a certain point or not. And it just got me thinking about like what a terrible thing you have to kind of figure out in some of these situations where if you're going to be risking your life on this superhero team, you need to know at what point a character is going to, you need to know how invulnerable they are. You need to know, what they're capable of and when they're going to turn and run away or whatever it might be. So it's some heavy stuff if you go down those routes, but it's interesting nonetheless.
But here's an idea. Why don't you test her out before you go on the mission?
Right. Well, don't forget Wolverine was ambushed with her. He didn't know that this was going to happen. Yeah, Trevor. Yeah, this knuckle dragging pose of Wolverine's. And we say that this might be the only second time we've ever seen an artist put Wolverine that crouched. The first being Miller in issue 1 of the limited series. I think he goes up against, no, maybe it's I don't know what issue it is. Pardon me. Either way, he goes up against, he's heading into like Shingen's, like his lair maybe. And he's doing an infiltration and he comes up against like the guard dogs. And he gets in real low to like go nose to nose with these guard dogs and sort of spook them off. And I haven't seen, again, the other artists that have drawn Wolverine up to this point. No one has done this except for Miller and Smith. And it just, again, starts to really feel like who this character is. Not in the movies or in the animated, but in other animated versions. You guys ever see the one where Wolverine fights the Hulk? And it's like a sort of 60-minute direct-to-video Wolverine versus the Hulk?
Yeah.
And it's like a retelling of their first fight in the Canadian Rockies, mixed with a Weapon X program missions, like Deadpool's there and Sabretooth and a few other characters after they get to this lab. But Wolverine is this shape in that animation as well, which is really cool. Ryan says, when I was a kid, man, I had to hitch a ride to Eckert's and hope it wasn't stock. Oh boy, that sounds like a serious struggle to try and read the second half of this. I feel for you. Cliffhangers back then were the worst. Great posing, anatomy, and action in that second to last panel here too. Yeah, Smith really he's phenomenal. Sorry, let me just flip the page. My pagination is now off from yours, unfortunately. Next time, watch your step. That statue could have been you.
My hero. A save like that deserves a reward.
No. Don't ever pull a stunt like that. Make a threat like that to me or any other X-Man, even as a joke. Understand?
I didn't mean any harm.
That's why you're still breathing.
That fourth panel where the claws are under her throat.
Yeah.
Like to pop through basically the top of her head, right? Like that. Wow. I was not expecting that. This is the first time I read this comic. And what a sequence there. I mean, I get it, what she does, and he's like, don't do it, but like basically putting her life on notice.
Yeah. This is we talked about him before, like in the older iterations of him, how he's turning into I'm gonna kill you from things happening in the danger room, or like you make a bad comment about his favorite baseball team and he's on you with
or like Nightcrawler gives him a warm beer. He's like, I'll kill you, Elf.
Yeah, but he means it, and I get it. The violation that's there is intense for him. So it's good. Chuck adds, it's great storytelling. In the tight shot, you don't see his hands, and then the next panel, you cut wider, and holy smokes, yeah, for sure. All right, Jay, you want to read that narration bit?
What makes Rogue a mutant is her ability to absorb the powers, memories, the total identity of whomever she touches. The slightest physical contact triggers the transfer, and while it's usually temporary, once it was permanent. Her victim was an old friend of mine. That's not easily forgotten or forgiven.
Bingo.
Wolverine, what's that smell?
Man scent. Pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice.
Decay. Our esteemed crime lord, Nabatone Yakuze, joined his ancestors over a week ago. Don't come any closer, kid. He isn't very pretty.
But didn't Lady Mariko say she'd seen Mr. Nabatone earlier tonight? That he'd help arrange the meeting? How could he do that if he was dead?
An imposter. We've been suckered. While we were out in the boondocks chasing smoke, the samurai has a clear shot at Mariko and the X-Men.
Elsewhere again.
Nifty, Wind Rider. If that bolt of lightning doesn't teach these lowlives the error of their ways, nothing will.
I have never used my powers to deliberately inflict pain.
It was no less than they deserved, and a far gentler fate than they had in store for us. Look on the bright side. After tonight, they'll probably think twice about going out in the rain, much less mugging anyone.
You know, I think you're right. Whatever it means, this madness of yours that has infected me, I welcome it.
Goddess!
It's a cool looking lightning bolt, though.
It's
Like,
You know
I haven't
how
seen it like that before.
in the cartoon, it always sounds like when she's doing something, really dramatic like this, like bringing a storm along or lightning. It sounds like she's about to key up like a Beyonce, and she's about to go into a riff, but then she just says something, goddess, like she just stops there. It sounds like she's like gearing up for like a big Mariah Carey run of some kind.
It is a really
She's gonna hit those octaves, those Mariah Carey octaves.
a crazy performance, in that cartoon. But all of us who have watched it have been impacted by it in a profound way. So it's made an impression, for better or for worse. My daughter and I do a drinking game when we watch. Anytime she gets into this voice, we take a shot. Chocolate milk. She's 12, but she's a good sport. And David Cutler is here. David, hey guys, hope you're well. Hope you are well, David Cutler. And I hope that you had a good post-Fan Expo experience, as I have noticed a couple of my comics contacts have been suffering from COVID or a little cold or flu. So I'm hoping you had a painless experience after Fan Expo. What? Look at this. At this point in time, I was sure Tina Turner would play Storm. Damn right. It's like setting her up for that private dancer haircut. What's love got to do with it? Like that time period, which, I mean, what is that, 84?
I think so.
Yeah, this definitely predates it. So maybe Tina borrowed from Aurora.
Yeah, that's dope. All right, here we go.
Try as we may to reach the hospital in time. I have a nasty feeling we'll be too late.
Be quick. Be efficient. I want no witnesses. No survivors. I could have used a little more background here instead of just the lines. You know what I mean? I find it just doesn't give me hospital vibes. Like, give me some dressing, like some set dressing, anything. I thought this was a little bland.
But I feel those throws.
Yeah.
Broken throws. I feel those.
Yeah. That's cool. Ryan says, you guys have to remember we had only known his name since he and the fuzzy elf went up north to fight Wendigo in 139, 140, and Heather Hudson let it slip. I gotta correct you. I'm sorry to do that. I don't want to ever do this to you. To anyone, but he does tell Mariko his name earlier when they meet in Japan. People often forget that because the X-Men don't learn his name then, but he does tell her that his name is Logan. Just putting that out there. So she knew. Anyway. David says, we learned Wolverine's name from a leprechaun in 103. I stand corrected again.
Was that they go to the Sean Cassidy's castle? Is that when like the wee folk, the leprechauns, are like?
I have to go get it and see.
Are in and like Black Tom is there with Juggernaut? Is that episode?
That's what he's referring to. Hold on. Jay, did you ever read those?
I did, I'm sure, but I forget.
And for fair reason. The issues when they fight Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy, also known as just Tom Cassidy, they're at Cassidy Keep. Oh my God. I found the page. He says, okay, hold on. Ready?
Yeah, do it.
So this is just this version here. So the first panel right there.
Yeah.
I think I can help you there, Mr. Logan. Huh? Who in the blazes are you, and how do you know my name? Remember, it's Padrack?
Oh yeah. We did the comic. We're gonna do the comic afterwards, of like the continuing adventures of Wolverine and Patrick.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that takes me back. It's just so silly. So kudos to David Cutler. You know the first use of Wolverine's real name. It is in X-Men 10. He says 103. I'm just going to confirm it here. Just for fun. Find that cover, the nearest cover. Yeah, X-Men 103. Patrick the leprechaun.
The leprechaun
Calls him Mr. Logan. So that's the first use of his name. That's unbelievable. Yes, but none of the X-Men ever bothered to ask him. That's my point. Point taken. Yeah, that's a good point. There you go. That's too funny.
Okay.
No survivors.
That ain't very sociable, Viper, honey. Maybe you and your playmates ought to delay your visit till y'all learn some better manners.
That panel works really well, huh?
Oh yeah, looks great. Look. Oh, now my dog has started to bark for a reason.
He's just going to check with his dog, Bijou. She has her moments where she does some good barking, whereas my amazing dog doesn't bark at all.
I'm going to put her outside. Hold on.
All right. I can... I find it neat when artists decide to like kind of eliminate outlines or holding lines. So like just use the speed lines here and how it can still really work. Like I don't always know how colors are going to choose it, how strictly to color. But this one still works even though they're not colored on the bottom half of their bodies on those legs. You could have done it still, but the speed effect really works. You dig this, Jay?
I love how the folds in the ninja's clothing are in the blue. So originally that would have been white, right? And you would have drawn it opposite.
Yes. Yeah. And then like the question would be, is it that Paul Smith is not drawing those areas? And it's like we don't know how tight his pencils are for Bob Wiacek to ink over. But I imagine they're pretty tight. His line looks pretty tight. And yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's good.
The speed lines when they hit the ninja clothing turn into more like splatters or dots. So the brush there.
I can show you in the example that I'm holding here.
Ooh.
So these are really crisp. Like these editions are extremely crisp. Those splatters and dots that you're looking at are actually razor blade friction marks up against the inked paper.
Right.
So you scratch away, especially the bottom foot, where you see those round bubbly marks.
Yeah.
That is completely the inker coming in with the razor blade and giving it a scratch, which is super cool. Yeah, it really works. We see that a lot. Like I see, Terry Austin does it a lot with explosions, and Klaus Janson uses it a lot. It's very effective. I've tried using it with a little X-Acto, and it's scary because you can undo it. Like you can go back over with ink again because you haven't just damaged the paper so much so that you can't add more ink to it, but you are making your paper damaged in some way. But if you look at it as like it's production art, you kind of let go. And
do you work digitally at all?
I do. I do some portion digitally. Like I do thumbnails, and then I'll kind of blow them up and do some of the penciling digitally. But I love
digitally. How would couldn't you do this effect, without with no damage, right?
Absolutely, you could. But where's the fun in that? Part of the joy, right? So you can leave like a stage of your work for, even if you want to work traditionally, you can think of like, oh, I'm going to do all my effects digitally. And so you add, white splatter or whatever you want to do within, in Photoshop or some of their software. But like I will tell you, part of the joy I have in making comics is actually putting ink on paper and trying out techniques from basically the 80s. Right. This Jim Shooter era, which I love so much. It really is like the part of the joy of making. And I do think that the organic stuff on the page reads like it's from somebody's hand as opposed to another filter or effect that you can just click on to blur things. Like when you see an artist draw blur versus the filter in Photoshop that does blur, like for some reason it's way more impressive to see an artist draw it. I think it's really cool.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just me.
No,
lots of other readers.
Totally get it.
Yeah. So we're at the happy landings whenever you're ready, Chris.
All right. Happy landings.
She's only a girl, despite her powers. While you remain the deadliest assassins in Japan, kill her!
As you command, Viper.
Splendid. They should keep the brat busy long enough for me to find the Silver Samurai and finish what we came here to do. There's just me left up here, Samurai. Show yourself, if you dare.
You will not find me lacking in courage, Gaijin.
Do tell. That why you brought an army?
I need no help to claim my birthright, dog, or to deal with you.
Harada's energy sword can cut through anything, or so he believes. But my claws are forged of pure adamantium, the strongest metal known. And my skeleton is a near unbreakable mix of adamantium and bone. I survive his first cut. He survives mine. This is the sequence I was telling you, Jason, that I was sad to not discover live. I mean, the following sequence.
Right.
This sequence.
The next one. Yes, there we go. Yeah. I was just like, oh, because I probably would have gasped or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And we're again getting like a big draw from Miller's pace of the fight scene and the layout of these widescreen panels. And on the previous page, it goes from yellow to orange to red as they engage. And I love those little touches too. And then I also love the increasing panel size. Like we're kind of zooming in bit by bit. And you can play this out. Like you can go through the sequence and, Silver Samurai's like his right hand swing. And as Wolverine leans back, he curls around to throw that right leg kick and then follow through with a backhand. You know, like it actually plays out in choreography, which is so great. And the original art of this page is around. Like you can find scans of it, and it just, again, his line work is just so so clean. But it's the choreography and the like you said before, the choice of panel, like the choice of the camera angle that is really so beautiful.
I just think it's brilliant. I can hear like taiko drumming and
Oh
metal
yeah,
clashing. You know what I mean? Like it just
yeah. I'm there with you. I think everyone is. I think all of us, all of us watching and reading along, we're all there. It's like the real beauty of this kind of comic is it captured the synchronicity between like movies, like home videos of that time period, of those like all the ninja movies, and within a couple of years, Ninja Turtles, and all these little pieces of just putting all these things together for us. This is a very visceral read.
Mm-hmm. Continues.
And then, like, the shock on Wolverine's face. No blood, which is fine, and pull the sword out and his knees are just give way, right? He's like, ugh.
It's just perfect. I mean,
yeah.
And I don't want to get too ahead here, but if you go to the last panel, the sword just starts to cut into his neck.
Yeah.
No, that's not cutting ahead. It's we read it so fast anyway.
I love that. I just love that little, detail.
I love how half the helmet is shattered, and you see the man underneath. That's great.
Yeah. And then get it. Wolverine gets a hand on him and breaks that arm.
Oh.
And it's over.
Brilliant. Applause.
Yes, no kidding. Really beautiful.
Could you imagine owning these pages and having it on your wall?
I can, and I'd be happy to recreate them for you for a price.
I just said the original pages.
Jason. Yeah, there would be original of mine.
Original Jason homage pages.
Yes, and that sword thrust coming after the annoying bubblegum commercial.
Jason, you should totally do it and sell it as a triptych or something.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. Okay, how could we not, right?
Sign and number them. I will buy the first one.
There you go. Yeah, that would be beautiful. Very cool. Would you? So in this idea, whereas we're coming up with it now, would you want the lettering on the last panel with Mariko?
That's so funny. I was just thinking that I just love the art for the first two panels, and then I'm thinking, what would you do for that last sequence, the last page?
Right.
I almost would say, even like the sound effect. I don't know. I would say no. Like that's my initial reaction.
Right.
Just have everything silent, so to speak. But you're the artist.
Right, but that's where you can take creative liberties, right? And like if you're doing it for commerce and for fun. Like you think, what would be the most commercial decision? What would ensure the sale? And it is not the Mariko panel. Like there might be another kind of panel that you could throw in there instead. But anyway, that's a fun thought. So here we go. Who's reading Mariko? Chris, is it you?
Yeah. You say I? Is that the first?
Yeah.
I. Logan-san, no. Enough blood has been spilled. Beloved, let this be an end to it. My half-brother has lost. Grant him his life.
I'll do that, Miko. I do that, Miko. This will never be over. He'll keep coming back till one of us, till one of you is dead.
You know what you could do, just thinking now, is like instead of having replace this panel with the final panel of like the claws under the head, like the rogue shot, and he's just about to, and then she's like, no. Right? Like you could finish it that like he has him. Sorry, we're going back to that conversation. But
sure.
You could put another panel in there.
But what I would want, if you're doing like a really clean Paul Smith homage, like you want to throw a Paul Smith panel in. You know what I mean? So I'm open to it. Right?
Two beautiful figures. That's right.
Yes.
What if the last panel was simply to be continued in Japanese character?
Translated from the Japanese?
Yes.
That could be beautiful too.
Good
These are all good ideas.
All right.
Have no fear, Wolverine. Your dilemma is about to be resolved. Send away from the samurai, and no false moves or I'll fire.
She'll fire anyway, as soon as Harada's clear. But for now, I play things her way. No real alternative. In the shape I'm in, Viper could cut me down long before I reached her. Instead, I edge Mariko towards the door, figuring to shove her through to safety if Viper gives me half a chance. There's no sign or sound of Rogue. Dumb kid probably got overconfident again and let herself get nailed.
Viper, mistress, forgive your humble servant.
Anyone know how to pronounce this next word? Keniuicho?
Keniuchio.
Keniuchio?
I think it's his name.
I thought his name was Harada.
I thought it was Kenny.
Harada would be his last name, and Keniucho, I'm guessing, and especially if his nickname's Kenny, that would be
Kenny, right? Yeah.
short for Keniucho. Just call him Kenny. Kenny!
Keniucho!
Is he say he has failed?
We move as one, Viper and I. Me for the door. Her for her gun. The outcome isn't even close. But then...
Take a hike, shorty, and let me do my good deed for the day.
Rogue!
The kid's either a show-off or she doesn't know her own strength. That shove flaming near puts Mariko and me into orbit.
A noble gesture, X-Man. I hope your compeers appreciate your sacrifice.
Compeers. Oh, Claremont.
I don't even know that word, but I
I
get
know
it.
that word. Joke's on you, lady. They couldn't care less whether I live or die. That blaster must be something else. I can actually feel its effect. I gotta keep blocking Viper's shot no matter what. Lady Mariko was kind to me. She accepted me right off, and I won't let her come to any harm.
I think this is like such a great panel. Holy shit. I love it.
The last panel?
Yes, of Rogue, again, where he has the guts not to put a holding line around, just to leave with like the white highlight without even an outline. It's fantastic. You can really feel the heat. Oh, dude. Trevor you get the win, Trevor. He killed Kenny. Good job. And hey, look at Nigel's here. Nigel Downer is here. Nice to see you here, Nigel. And it was good to see you at Fan Expo. Wait, y'all doing voices too? Okay, let's go. Yeah, Nigel's got to come on the show soon.
Agreed.
Come on. I love that panel. That's great. Rogue.
I'm moving like an old man. No speed and less strength. Looking desperately for a gun, a knife, for anything I can use as a weapon to stop Viper. When her own blaster overloads and does the job for me. The kid's breathing, but I can barely find a pulse.
Gee, Wolvie, guess I ain't as invulnerable as I thought.
It seems we part even, X-Men. Both sides with casualties. This is Harada's fight. It will be his decision whether or not to continue. I see your view again, lady. I guarantee it'll be for the last time. Perhaps. Farewell.
She activates her teleport ring. And Rogue and I are alone in the room.
So much for my brilliant career. I think my life.
Don't talk stupid. My healing factor can save you.
No, you need that to save yourself. If I absorb your powers, Wolverine, you may die.
My risk. Besides, darling, who's gonna stop me?
I'm a man who pays his debts, Rogue. You sacrificed yourself for Mariko. It's only fair I return the compliment.
And that might be for me also one of the best panels of the page. I mean, of the book, like the choice to again, like make it one without a border, make them small. Like you feel the loneliness and the desperation of that moment because of those choices, right? Have nothing else there. It's just the two of them alone in the whole world for that moment. And then from a writing point of view, like what a beautiful tie-in. Like they set it up before, right? Where Wolverine tells her we're never sharing powers. I don't trust you. I wouldn't do it. I'd let you die. You're nothing to me. Don't get in my way. And now she saves, risks her life to save them. And he now does the most vulnerable thing he can, which is he bears himself to her by letting her absorb his powers. Like she's earned the trust, right? She's in the circle.
This is exactly it. She's automatically now an X-Men.
And like to think about it, that this is the issue where Rogue earns her stripes. And like once you get in with Wolverine, you are in for life. Like this guy, he will murder for you. And I love that we get to sort of see it in real time where Rogue, it makes that bond with Wolverine. It's just fantastic. And it was earned. It was totally earned. Go ahead, Jay, whenever you're ready.
The ancestral seat of Clan Yoshida in Miyagi Prefecture, some 300 kilometers north of Tokyo, nestled in the hills overlooking the port city of Garashima. A week later.
I am as giddy as a schoolgirl, too excited to sleep. Do all brides feel so on the eve of their wedding? All is in readiness, yet I am certain something essential has been forgotten. I wish today were over and done with, yet I would not miss it for the world. Ah, Logan-san, I do so love you. Who's there? A friend, Lady Mariko, who wishes you and your consort well. Goodness, what happened to me? I must be more distracted than I thought. Imagine talking to myself like that.
These are beautiful little drawings, too. Really great.
Yeah. This should be the happiest day of my life, but I can't shake a feeling of unease. The air seems supercharged, like it gets just before a big storm cuts loose. There's been no sign of the samurai or viper since our scrap in Tokyo. We just like them to show up in the middle of the ceremony. I'll feel better when it's over.
And then what an amazing location shot. Holy cow. Like he has not done a lot of backgrounds or scenery in this issue, and it seems like it's all saved for that panel. That is exquisite, the line work there.
I love the reflection, too.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's good to be at the hospital, Tovarish. You can say that again, Colossus.
More guests arriving, people.
Lorna Dane, plus the Summers clan, Alex, his father Christopher, his big brother Scott, Aurora's predecessor as leader of the X-Men.
I'd like to introduce a very special friend, Madeline Pryor.
What is this? I can't even read so small. What does it say?
Sure, Q3. Have mercy.
Okay, there you go.
Colossus, stop her.
Empress Lilandra, what are you doing?
Look at you, blind. Are you blind? Look at her. She's the evil one, reborn. She is not. She resembles Jean Grey, but that is all. Phoenix is dead. Charles, Scott, forgive me. When I saw her, my reaction was automatic. I could not help myself. I understand, Lilandra. No harm done. Holy shit. I wish I could be as certain as you, Professor, that Madeline isn't Jean reincarnated.
Look, up in the sky. It's Storm?
Hello, kitten. My apologies for being late.
Your clothes, your hair. What have you done?
A new look. Do you like it?
How could you?
Kitty! How could you be so selfish to think this is about you and have your feelings hurt? You little brat.
Well, yeah.
What could you possibly be upset about? This has nothing to do with you, Kitty Pryde. It's a rather striking change, Oro. Why'd you do it? I had my reasons, Scott. Am I not allowed? Goddess! I beg your pardon. I did not mean. My fault. I should have realized the effect that Madeline would have on everyone in words beforehand, because she looks just like the woman that was your teammate that died, that we all had to fight. And then this one was basically born on the same day. You know, like, I should have told everyone that I'm insane for dating a clone of my ex, but I didn't. Wow.
Don't feel badly, Aurora. I'm getting used to being stared at.
What? A little later.
I'm ashamed of my reaction. Madeline seems a lovely child, and she and Scott look very happy together. But I was amazed at Aurora. I, too. Is this some whim? Or indicative of a deeper, more serious metamorphosis?
Looking good catch, then. Oh, hush, Fuzzy Elf.
These are my best friends, Madeline. I hope you like them.
I'm sure I shall, as much as they like me.
What? What does that even mean?
Oh my God. Okay, we have to there's lots of comments here. Trevor says, loved Rogue and Wolverine as a team here. For sure. What a great series. I would have teamed up anytime. I'd love to see more of that. Ryan says, only in Japan do you see such an honorable arrangement. Yes, agreed. Translated from the Russian. Thank you, Trevor. Fuck yeah, Punk Storm. Yeah. Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Kitty Pryde. You're Scott's girlfriend? Uh-huh, but weren't you a brunette a while ago? Wig. I'm acting as Miko for the ceremony, the priest's female assistant, kind of like a maid of honor. Could you please do me a big favor and keep an eye on Lockheed? He shouldn't be any bother. He's snoozing. No problem. It'll be my pleasure. Great. See you later. Nice kid. I wish I had a sister like her. Being a pilot, I think Lockheed's a perfect name for her cat.
So random. So random. Here, take care of my dragon.
Yep.
Girl who would like to be my sister. I just met and freaked out.
Yep. Where do you meet my grandparents, Professor? You've all got to come visit us in Alaska.
Scott?
Yes, Madeline? Something the matter?
Just precisely who are these people and what the blazes have you got me into?
In deference to Mariko, this is a Shenzhen Kekonshiki, a traditional Shinto wedding. Me, I couldn't care less. If we work out, it won't be because of any ceremony or slip of official paper. And if we don't, they won't keep us together. Our love is what counts. The rest is decoration. Love. Word sounds strange coming from me. Not my style at all. So I'll change. Everyone does. Mariko's beauty takes my breath away. As I follow her to the altar, where we'll take our vows. Her undergown was white for mourning, signifying her symbolic death as she leaves her parents' family to join herself forever to me and mine.
Stop the ceremony. Most Imperial Majesty, honored guest, there will be no wedding.
Why?
Because, Gaijin, you are not worthy.
Ouch. It's like the worst thing she could have said.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to the John Bird art in a minute. Let's just finish the story if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We'll come back. And then that son of a bitch. Look who's there.
And look who's there.
Claremont,
Oh, yeah.
admit who that was.
Claremont admitted.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
For that last panel, you should put the one with Mastermind and the cigarette. Just
I
total
was going to put Wolverine crying.
That's one too.
Yeah, the cigarette one is fantastic, though. It's a really great drawing. Everything. He's. I really can't say enough good things about it.
I really hope there's like a reaction shot from the crowd that she's
Yeah.
just said the wedding is off, and everyone's just all right.
They are like there's one character kind of hiding their face, one is like dipping their view, and then the character's just like a little surprised, but it's not that dramatic.
How come Wolverine doesn't smell Jason Wingard?
Okay, because of his cigarettes. Good point. That's
Good.
a really good point. The blue fuzzy guy didn't freak her out. The dragon did. Yeah, for sure. Ryan says, "Oh, but so damn funny. Even now, Maddie's meeting the team for the first time. It's beautiful. Yeah, it for me, like in that Claremont way of weaving together all the different threads of the story, how he goes, a little bit of this Cyclops stuff, a little bit of the team back and forth. Having them come together like this it worked on me. I liked it.
Oh, for sure.
It reads well for me. So can we go back to that John Byrne ad,
This?
if you don't mind?
Bull.
As a kid, when I saw this, I thought this was like the greatest picture I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And all I wanted was just to like see him draw everyone all the time, because he was my first favorite artist, like the first artist where I knew I could recognize him, and I followed whatever he was drawing, I would read. And I'm so grateful. Like this is still like the version of all these characters that I kind of look for. Like in action figure form, I have just about all of them from this era. There isn't a Marina figure yet. And I did not build the Man Thing Build-A-Figure, but now I'm tempted because, I have just about everything else here. There isn't a She-Hulk in this t-shirt, but I do have a good She-Hulk. And there isn't Kitty with the X-Baby outfit or the New Mutants outfit, but, that's not a bad custom. And, of course, there isn't a Banshee in the green and yellow. And there isn't an Angel
in the red
in that look yet, and there hasn't been an Angel in the modern Marvel Legends yet. So everyone else, I've recently got that Wonder Man and that Captain Marvel. So I'm well on my way. What's that?
That Beefcake Hercules.
There isn't a modern one of that version of Hercules, but I do have the dressing from the older one that I could use if I want to make that one. But it'll come eventually, I think.
And we saw the Luke Cage one at Fan Expo, right?
We did. I can't wait for that. And then I don't have this particular exact Iron Fist. I have the more modern, like one shirt and hand wraps.
Yeah.
But this is my 80s, early 80s Marvel. This is what I would have imagined. If I could name everyone in that as a kid, I felt like I was well on my way.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Next issue. Romances.
So there's this weird thing where last issue the X-Mail was written by Kitty Pryde, was it? Or was it written by
Big Jim Shooter?
I thought wasn't it in the voice of one of the characters? Oh, I should just look for you. Oh no, they're not in this. They're not in this edition. I could have sworn it was supposed to be written by one of the characters, at least the responses. This one is written by Colossus. And there are a couple really funny ones where like they really go at Louise Simonson or Chris Claremont pretty hard for certain things, accusing them of like ruining this or doing this thing well or asking questions. And it was weird to read, but nothing really huge of note. But it was still funny to do it in Colossus's voice. So all the responses in bold are written as Colossus.
Well, I'm not reading them.
No, don't worry about it. Trevor says that perspective that John Byrne drawing was incredible. All the characters in that one shared space. And yes, Claremont made them people you knew and identified with. Totally. Those guys are just such a great team.
Is this Paul Smith's last book?
No, sir.
No. So there's a couple more.
Sweet Christmas. Next issue. I don't want to get too far ahead. Paul Smith is penciler for the next issue.
Okay.
Of 174, and then I mean, do you want me to tell you when he leaves?
I thought it was soon.
It is 175. Without me getting too far ahead, I think 175 is split.
Okay.
And I'm just looking for the credits. Because now you got me flipping through the issue like a jerk. Oh, 175 is totally split. There are actually pages, like the back half is essentially, pages. It's a double-sized. It's 38 pages of art. So the first 30 are Paul Smith, and the back 8 or 9 are John Romita Jr.
Oh, okay.
Who is going to join the series as the regular penciler for a long, long time. Along with eventually inker Dan Green, who just passed away, will be joining the book too. So yeah, that's coming soon. We're getting to the end of all that.
Wow. Well, we're also coming up on our 100th episode.
We are. We're at episode 90 now. Nigel Downers a sweet Christmas for that Luke Cage figure. I can't wait to get that guy in hand. Any thoughts about this issue now that you've read the whole thing?
I was just looking through the next issue. Okay, wait, there it is. Sorry.
You're getting ahead?
No, because you were talking about 170. What is it? 5?
5, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that cover.
Sure.
I do remember being disappointed that it wasn't all Paul Smith.
Sure.
Like, just as I was really falling in love with his art, he leaves us.
Yeah, well,
where does he go after this?
Didn't he do Doctor Strange after this?
Maybe.
Am I imagining that?
He'd be beautiful in Doctor Strange. What?
And then we kind of lose track of him for a number of years until he comes back to do Leave It to Chance with Robinson, right?
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I will have to find Leave It to Chance. But he also does the X-Men and Alpha Flight 2-parter.
Right, yeah.
Which we will cover eventually.
Well, if you notice, I have a bit of an Alpha Flight shrine over here. Can you see that right there?
We do love Alpha Flight here. I'm going to show off a couple more action figures.
Right over here.
Okay.
I see.
And then there's these guys here. Statue.
Yeah, we're big fans of Alpha Flight here as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Is that shirt like pink?
Yeah, it's Dusty Rose.
Yeah, that was a back issue I had to track down. I started reading Alpha Flight at issue 22.
When this issue came out, here we go, more Montreal stories. So,
okay.
I guess, when was New Comic Book Day back there? Was it Friday or something? Because I went straight from school in the suburbs of Montreal, took a bus downtown, took like 20, 30 minutes to go pick it up at a comic shop. And I get there, I rushed in to go get the issue because I knew it was the one where somebody dies. And the comic shop owner bagged and taped every single copy, and you weren't allowed to read it until you paid for it and left the store.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like going crazy. I was just like, okay, here to take my money. Come on, let's go. Because I was hoping it was Marina, because
we were all hoping it was Marina.
I started flipping through it without reading because I wanted to see, and I almost ruined the comic because I almost like just crunched it up and screamed to the skies. I actually wrote about it in a comic I did. My very first comic called Copybook Tales. There's a short story called How I Stopped Worrying and Learned to Love John Byrne or something.
Nice.
Yeah, it was all about that moment in my life.
Well, I started reading Alpha Flight issue 22, which was almost a full year after they had killed Guardian, and I had basically cut my teeth in those comics the mourning of the character, like the aftermath of his death. So I was reading the book about a shattered team and this widow, and so I was so like I really, really wanted to see how it built up to the death because I knew it was coming, unfortunately. But he was my favorite character, even though I knew he was dead. Like I loved that Space Ghost head.
Yeah. That
just, I know Space Ghost's head is black, but the design is like just ripped right from that Alex Toth design.
It's perfect. And he was our Captain America. And then Byrne did that. It was such a betrayal. It felt like such a betrayal at the time. But
it was
storytelling, it was brilliant because nobody expected that. And I don't know if you remember how they did it with the countdown. Remember how I did that?
Of course, I remember.
Fucking brilliant. And I was convinced. Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Like flipping through it. What? Oh, he'll be fine. And then
I read it for the first time in my 30s, and I like so appreciated that. Yeah. Where I was just like, what?
And then when you realize,
yeah,
like it took me a minute to realize it's fucking Heather's fault. If she hadn't entered the room at that moment, he might have pulled off the.
Right, it's not the fault of the people who basically beat him to death.
Because she opened the door when he was trying to like disarm the thing.
Right.
It's brilliant. It's a brilliant movie.
It is. It's one of the of all the comic book deaths moments, I think it's one of the best because it's just in the era, in the lead up, the leader, everything you're not expecting to happen.
And it's just so well executed and so underappreciated. Like people talk about the death of Superman, the death of Ms. Marvel, recently, but this should be in like a comic book storytelling 101 class.
I hear you.
It's just brilliant. It was just so well done, and he did it all right. So it's just like wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Ryan says, brilliant run. You started right before Sasquatch had his exit in issue 24. Yes, that's true. Sasquatch loses his hold over the mystical beast that he is tapping into, Walter Lankowski. And eventually Snowbird has to transform into the same beast, just in white, and rips his heart out and then leaves his dead body there. And then they put Walter's soul eventually. They will have to find a new body for it. So they 5 issues later, they find in the nexus, in the void, they find a beast that is mindless, and they fishing rod lure it in and pull it out of the void, and it's the Hulk. And they're like, uh-oh, we just moved the Hulk to Canada, and he's mad. And Mignola comes on the series for a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of a Mignola on Alpha Flight is wild too.
Weird. Changed the tone completely. Also Bill Mantlo started writing. It was a very different series. But yeah, man, I was, for all of us comic book collectors, or readers, when you have 10 comics and that's all you have, you read those 10 comics kind of every day, or you go through a couple every day. So those first few issues of Alpha Flight, from 22 until 30, those are really, and my first kind of 10 issues of G.I. Joe, extremely formative. And I read them all the time. So yeah, the Death of Guardian was huge for me. And I love that shirt. And I coveted that issue because it was hard for me to get. It was more expensive. I had to go to Silver Snail downtown to get it. It's like a back issue. But meanwhile,
I was there when it came out.
Viper. Don't trust her. She's going to vipe you.
She'll get you.
So I got this one, which is now more loved because she's played such a good role in the series. But this one, come on.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Different design a little bit than what we saw in this issue. His chest has the painted
the
flag logo. But he's a beefier figure. If you compare him in size to Wolverine. Wolverine's here running, and you can see Harada is much bigger. 2 swords, just awesome.
Nice.
Big fan.
Recreate that scene with the action figures.
What's that?
Recreate that scene with the action figures. Just get a red background and just pose them. Was it 5, 6 shots, 7 shots?
There are. I don't know if you've ever taken a look, Joe. There are people that do action figure.
I have a buddy who does it.
It's beautiful when they do it. It's not going to be my.
I'm pretty sure some of the guys listening right now, or watching right now, know him. His name is Greg Shaw, and he's of that community.
Does he have a handle?
He
an
does.
Instagram handle?
I don't remember. He's actually quite good. Of course, I don't know.
Ryan says James, as in McDonald Hudson, was not a hero. It makes so much sense now looking back, as he's the character that can leave. Yeah, his arc was different. It was a different thing. I haven't read Alpha Flight in decades, but there is a new printing of the Byrne Omnibus coming out next month. Some of it holds up beautifully, his figure art is great and his storytelling is really clear. It is really dated in a lot of ways too. But if you like that nostalgia piece, if you want to read some 80s comics, Byrne at his maybe most prolific, it hits that sweet spot. I love them, but I can't look at it through any kind of objectivity. Yeah. Ryan says, I wonder what Byrne thought of Wanda Lenkowski. Yeah, I wonder if he thought it was sort of maybe a betrayal of the character at all. So what happens is eventually they decide to put Walter, his soul, into that Snowbird body. And I don't remember where Snowbird went. But they put her in like that Sasquatch body that's white. So when she transforms back into human form, it's Walter in the body of a woman. And she goes by the name Wanda.
Huh.
And she's sexy.
Was that the first like trans character in
Right. Is Byrne breaking ground here? Or are we?
It was so I don't think it was Byrne that did that
Mantlo,
move. That was after. I think that's Bill Mantlo who was writing at that time. But there's got to be another character that changed into a woman at some point. I mean, with all those transformations that Superman went through, and Lois Lane. Remember, you guys have seen the one where Lois Lane changes race.
Yeah.
There's got to be another character that changes sexes or genders.
Oh,
no. Yeah. Wow. Yes, there are people in this chat who do action figure photography, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
His Instagram is Tora. Oh my god, I just forgot. His name's Greg. Look at him, Greg Shaw.
Greg,
you got
the action
Dad
figure.
I'm sure you guys know him. Like every time I go to any kind of comic show or convention, he's like, "Can you find this for me?" And then I'll mention it to somebody like, "Oh yeah, we know Greg."
You've got dad brain. Many times I've had to look something up 2 seconds after I just looked it up. His name is Torred Greg.
Yeah, but is that his photography one or is that his...
No?
Yeah, see, that's what I was.
My public account is Tora Nerd.
Maybe that's the one. Yeah, I'm trying to find it on my
Tora Nerd, and y'all know how to spell nerd. There you go. Yeah, it's got some beautiful stuff. You know what's a really good YouTube show is me looking at my Instagram. I could just pull it up here and show everybody. That would be a much nicer way to do this. Let me do that since we're talking about him. And he's a nice guy.
He's a great guy. I've known him for years and years and years. Our kids used to trick or treat together all the time.
I'm gonna share.
Now they just ignore each other in the halls of high school.
Right. That sounds like classic kids. Let me share this. Present. Share screen. Boom. Y'all can see that?
Yeah, that's him.
If there's one you want me to stop at, just let me know. These ones with the animals, like...
So, I gotta make sure that he sees this video and fast forwards to the end part. Skip the reading and just get to like the hyping of your stuff.
Jay Torres, if you like this kind of thing, check out who's in the chat is a Trevor16 Shooter. Trevor does amazing action figure photography.
Oh, there you go.
And does lots of great pro work too, like for some of the toy lines, like doing their promo shots. And his staging and lighting and effects are just outstanding. Chris, we were talking about, as Chris, you were doing some shopping on my behalf and picked me up an Outback. So This is the Tiger Force Outback that I did not want.
Right. I got you regular Outback.
Yes. But one of the things people are saying is like, if you get the Tiger Force, you can use the head as like old man Cap. Put it on a Captain America unmasked kind of figure, and he looks awesome. That also, by the way, is like I think it's Tiger Force Bazooka. Because Bazooka should be wearing a red shirt. But yeah, there you go.
Jason, who's cool. the other person you mentioned? I was gonna.
Oh, Trevor16 Shooter. So 16 Shooter's in the chat, and he is a beautiful photographer.
Oh, found him. Got it.
Yeah, he does awesome stuff, and a great supporter of the show too. So Trevor is like, he's a saint in my books. Man, these Joes, I've got to get me a rock and roll. He's like a must-have for my my alpha unit of figures. Anyway, these are beautiful. Oh, look at that. Sparks, come on. That is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, those shots are bonkers, Nigel. They are bonkers. That one's really... Yes.
Yep, this is very talented.
Oh, yes. Oh, very sexy. Mantlo did that, referring to Wanda Lankowski. Mm-hmm.
That's when I jumped ship. I mean, basically, I followed Burn around.
Sure.
Shortly after he left, I was like, okay, I'm gone.
I hung around because I didn't have another title to pick up, and Wolverine made a couple appearances. They continued on this story where a female sort of Silver Samurai showed up in Alpha Flight with Wolverine, fighting Wolverine and Heather Hudson in the woods, and it was a character who becomes Lady Deathstrike. She kind of comes from this revenge, like samurai revenge narrative, and she makes her first kind of appearance under that name in Alpha Flight. So if Wolverine showed up in that, I was going to stay on longer, and then I don't leave Alpha Flight until Jim Lee starts, and he does a couple issues, and the team was really weird by then. I remember the character Box.
That was Jim Lee basically aping Manola at the time.
I don't even know. I haven't gone back and read those issues, but they had a character they had Purple Girl, who was like Purple Man's daughter. Yep. They had a character who was he could like pop out himself from a few different evolutionary stages. So he had like amoeba version of himself, like a giant amoeba of himself. He had a caveman, Neanderthalist kind of like version of himself, and then a future version who's a little bit like techno and elongated a tiny bit. So I don't remember what that character's name was. Madison Jeffries was in control of the box armor, and it would change all the time. And of course, Vindicator was Heather Hudson. I don't remember who else was there. I think in Puck, they made Puck tall for a little bit and older. I was like...
Yeah, I mean, I would check in every now and then and just shake my head and then move on.
Right. But I very quickly moved over to X-Men, especially like, by the time the Marvel's 25th anniversary was around, I was reading X-Men and other series, and they had classic X-Men going at the same time. So that's how I fell in love with these older issues. It was on the newsstand, back then. So it was very cool stuff. Jay, let's talk about what is next for you. In terms of
very little
events,
because I'm getting up at the crack of dawn tomorrow to watch Team Canada play Serbia in FIBA World Cup basketball.
Yeah, you both are big supporters of Team Canada basketball.
Listen, you were talking about crying. What was it that you mentioned that made you cry the other day or just now?
The last episode of Batman.
Yeah, this is how good my memory is. I was tearing up yesterday from that game. Seriously, or 2 days ago. Anyway, yeah, that's what's up for me right now. I'm not getting any work done tomorrow until this is over. And then I'll be at the Ottawa Comic-Con this weekend.
Oh, awesome.
And I don't even know what I've got coming out in the next little while. More of that DC Kids YouTube stuff as a DC roll out or not roll out.
Right.
If Aquaman gets canceled like Batgirl, I don't know if they'll post this, but we'll see.
And is Ottawa your last show for the year?
No, I'm going to see you guys at Whitcalf.
Right. In November.
And I think I've got a couple of library things coming up, like a kids comic writing workshop in Pickering and something else downtownish. I can't remember now.
That's cool.
It's on my schedule. Don't worry. I'm not going to forget it.
That's okay. As long as it's in your schedule. Chris, what's next for you?
I'll be at Guelph Comics Jam in about a week and a half here in my town of Guelph, Ontario, with a whole bunch of cool creators. Saturday, September 16th, free show at the Dragon downtown Guelph, where you can get our comics, the ones that Jason. Yes, only a couple of those ones left, not many. we're down. It's a good thing, actually. It's a good problem to have. We're actually selling out so much of our old stock, and we actually are expecting our new printing of our graphic novel to arrive
any day. Yesterday, 2 weeks ago, please.
We'll get that out to people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any second.
Waiting for the digital copy.
Yeah,
Coming.
To complete my collection
of digital comics.
Well, a group of seven. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and his skirt is fabric.
Oh, lovely.
Want to see?
No, thank you.
Want to see his bow?
You don't need to see his
or his arrow.
You don't need to see his arrowhead.
Hold on.
What are you doing?
He's
got an arrow.
Yes, we got it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm all a quiver.
Ah, there it is.
I also got this guy.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
Big clunky dude.
Who's
I like
that,
my old
Rick
Kirby. Yes. But the best part about the Hawkeye is he comes with the Sky Cycle.
The Sky Cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's some serious stuff right there. That's very special. So we Guelph Comics Jam at the Dragon in a week and a half. And then maybe Mississauga Comic Expo.
Maybe.
We've applied. We haven't heard yet. It's too soon.
Maybe.
There's stuff at the Hero's Tale in Cambridge
in November. Whitcalf, November.
Something else. I feel like
we'll be around.
But anyway.
Around.
And then next summer, guys, the three of us. Deep River.
I can't believe it. Like, it's going to be here before we know it.
It's going to be amazing.
Yes. We're already got, booking shows for 2024, which is insane. And just, you guys were, not into that content, but look at that. That's what I'm not here for. Boo Jason. He's lying. Nigel's all about that. All right.
Is it actually called a skirt? Or is it just a flap? Anyway.
Would it help if I show you again? Would that help?
No. I'm just curious. I just want to try to beef up my vocabulary.
But Nigel says what he is here for is go Griffins. There you go.
Go Guelph.
Anyway, let's call that a night, guys. I want to go watch Ahsoka and finish drawing some more X-Men.
Right.
I couldn't help it.
Thanks. No sleep.
I started more X-Men.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the new iteration. I need to get for our graphic. I need to have Rogue in there and Mohawk Storm. So I'm working on that. I'm excited to get that one done.
Yeah, but nice... can you work on that fight scene?
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into that for sure. Hey, Dave Pretorius, how are you, man? What's happening in Deep River? Good question. What is happening in Deep River?
The Deep River Geek
Fest.
All I know is that it's somewhere
north of Ottawa.
That way, north of Ottawa, on the way to North Bay. It's somewhere between those two, and it's going to be far away. And we are going to be, I guess, at that show. And I think we are rooming.
We're sharing a house. We have
we're doing one big bed. We're doing one big bed, the three of us?
With many beds that we are not sharing. Mm-hmm. And it's apparently three stop signs from the arena.
Wonderful.
In which we will have the convention. We're going to be in an actual ice rink. No ice, of course, but
I like to always measure distances and stop signs. It makes you feel good.
I've been to 3 or 4 conventions in Canada that took place inside of an ice rink.
Yep.
All of them were stellar.
I have no doubt.
I don't know what it is about the rink that makes people want to buy your books, but it's a thing. And incidentally, this show also features Joey Jeremiah and Caitlin from Degrassi.
So there you go. Speaking of 80s.
Next summer, 2024.
Yes, next summer. If
Dave
we're all still alive.
Dave says he thinks there are only 3 stop signs in Deep River. So,
that's probably the only 3, yeah.
But I just because remind you, you can deny it as much as you want, Jay, but you will be playing middle spoon. You know that as long as you're Like that's just how it's going to end up.
No, that's not the way. I'd rather sleep in the car.
Yeah, I'm going to just say some phrases, and you'll see what you can do with it. Where's your other hand? Between two pillows.
Those aren't pillows.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
all I got to say. All right. On that note, we will
I would
see
say
you.
yes, they are pillows.
And we'll bring the pumpkin spice.
Oh my god!
So,
I'll try not to be too musky and man-scenty for you guys.
Next week, we'll be reading issue 174. I'm looking forward to that and figuring out who could that be.
You just read that one.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I was looking at it to see what it was. It was 173.
This is what you're reading next week, and I'm like,
No, next week is 174. It's over there on the shelf. I
I'm
have
not
it there.
coming back to this.
And and I'm really looking forward to see what kind of mastermind could be creating that kind of illusion. I don't know. I
I'm
haven't
still
figured
waiting
it out
for
yet.
confirmation of this theory I have, but I'll get back to you if I ever hear from Claremont.
Let me know. We're sitting here with bated breath, but I really do appreciate everyone hanging out with us tonight for all this nonsense, and it has been a lot of fun reading this one. Jay, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad we finally did this. Pillows. It's going to be a good week. Hope everyone's good, and you take care of yourself, and you keep reading more X-Men comics, and we'll talk more about it in the future. And that's it. Everyone, anything else you want to say?
Go Canada.
There you go. Go Canada.
Hey, folks.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.